and welcome back to my vlogs. Today I'm filming from Florence. It's the second part of my summer holiday in Italy, and so I've just been to Tuscany. If you haven't seen those vlogs, then please click the link in the description box to watch that. But now I'm in the city and it's amazing to be here. I've always dreamed of coming to Florence and it is even more beautiful than I imagined. I am loving walking around the streets and exploring it so far. It's my second day here. I arrived yesterday and I went to the Uffizi Gallery, so I saw the birth of Venus, which has always been a dream of mine. I really loved it, and I just wandered around a little bit, and I'll put some of the footage that I filmed yesterday in now. The Uffizi Gallery, located beside the Piazza della Signoria, right in the historic centre of Florence, is one of Italy's most important and most visited museums, so of course I had to make a visit during my trip. The building itself, built in 1560 and designed by Giorgio Vasari, was originally commissioned by Cosimo de' Medici to be used as Florentine magistrate offices, hence the name Uffizi, which translates to offices. After the Medici family lost their influence over the city, the last Medici heiress, Anna Maria Luisa, donated their art collections to the city of Florence. Since this contained mainly Italian Renaissance art, this is what is most prominent in the museum today. Of course, the main attraction to the gallery is the impressive collection of work by Botticelli. For those of you who have watched my vlog from Paris, where I went to a Botticelli exhibition at the Musée Jacques Marandré, you will know how much I admire his work, and as you can imagine, I was thrilled to finally see the birth of Venus and Primavera in person. They are larger than I imagined them, and the calming colours and angelic faces truly took my breath away. Afterwards, it was time to eat, and for dinner we wandered the narrow, out-of-the-way streets, which were empty of tourists, in the search of a restaurant with high-quality local food. To our luck, we stumbled across the kind of place with a handwritten menu, where the pasta is made from scratch and the dishes change with the seasons. And today the plan is to go to the Medici chapels, where they have like the tombs of the different members of the Medici family, and possibly to go to the Duomo. So yes, I'm about to leave now, go and have some breakfast and then go out. So I'll show you and take you along with me as I explore. During my trip to Florence, I stayed at the Hotel Paris, which was relatively inexpensive compared to lots of other hotels in the area, considering its ideal location, which is right in the historic centre, just down the street from the Duomo, and the quality of the hotel, which was tastefully decorated and included breakfast each morning, so I would recommend this place if you decide to visit Florence. I will link the hotel in the description below, along with recommendations for restaurants, cafes, and other places to visit, based on my experience staying in the city. I started my day at the Medici chapels, adjoined to the Basilica of San Lorenzo, and which date from the 16th and 17th centuries. The Medici family commissioned them as extensions to the 15th century church built by Brunelleschi, the same architect who designed the famous dome on the cathedral, in order to celebrate the Medici family and to become their family tomb. The new sacristy was built by Michelangelo between 1520 and 1534 and serves to remind visitors that the Medici were enlightened patrons. He produced a collection of sculptures for the room, including the allegories of dawn and dusk and night and day, as well as a Madonna and Child sculpture. The House of Medici was a powerful Italian banking family and political dynasty who started in the wool trade and grew to found and control the largest bank in Europe through the course of the 15th century. Even the Pope and the Vatican banked with them, and the Medici increased their power by putting forward 4 popes of the Catholic Church from their own family: Pope Leo X, Pope Clement VII, Pope Pius IV, and Pope Leo XI. On the female side of the family, they also managed to produce 2 queens of France through marriage, Catherine and Marie de' Medici. Right beside the Medici chapels is their own family home, the Palazzo Medici Riccardo, which I explored next. The Medici used their wealth and influence to create an environment in which art and humanism could flourish, and are often credited for enabling the Italian Renaissance and the Golden Age of Florence. Their tie to the arts is undeniable, and walking around their house I was dazzled by the frescoes, the paintings and sculptures which fill the rooms, and I could only imagine how beautiful this house must have been at its peak. So this morning I went to the Medici Chapel and also the Medici Palace, and oh my gosh, it was amazing, especially because before coming to Florence I watched the series Medici on Netflix, which I know is not 100% historically accurate. However, I do feel like I learned a lot about the family there, and also obviously you feel more attached to the different people from the series than seeing their tombs and their house they lived in. It was just amazing to see it first person in real life. For the best panoramic views of the city, I climbed up the hill to the Piazzale Michelangelo on the south bank of the Arno River. Florence is even more spectacular seen from above, with all of the clay-tiled rooftops and the grand Duomo towering above. I walked up through the Giardino delle Rose, which is a terraced rose garden leading up to the square. It is a steep climb, but the pretty gardens made it easier, and the views at the top are most definitely worth the effort. Then, crossing the river back into the centre, I passed the Ponte Vecchio, which translates to Old Bridge. It is a medieval stone bridge and was the only bridge across the Arno in Florence until 1218. It is famous for the shops which stretch across its length and contains only goldsmiths and jewellers since the decree of Ferdinand I in 1593. It makes for an impressive walk as you can't help but linger in front of the windows as you pass to admire their displays and their historic shop fronts. So, after going to the Medici Chapel and the Medici Palace, I went up to the Piazzale Michelangelo, which is basically a viewpoint which has a skyline view all over Florence, and oh my gosh, it was beautiful. I must say that the walk up there was intense because it was really hot midday and there isn't any shade, and walking up the hill was tiring. But it was worth it for the view. The view was spectacular over the Duomo and just the skyline of Florence and the river with the Ponte Vecchio, the old bridge with the shops on it, and it was just beautiful. And then when I went down the hill, I went along the Ponte Vecchio to see all of the jewellery shops, and it's traditionally been like that for a long time, so it's amazing to see it still serving the same purpose. And on the way back to the hotel, I did a little bit of shopping. So I went to Brandy Melville, which they have stores like that in England as well, but I was attracted to the store because they had t-shirts that were Florence themed, and I thought it would be quite cute to get some souvenirs there, because it's better than going to one of the tacky souvenir shops where the quality is really awful. So I got two really pretty tops with pictures of Florence on. I got this one, which is kind of like a cream colour, and it's got a lovely picture of the baptistry, which is right next to the cathedral. So there's the main cathedral and the baptistry right in front of it, so it's really pretty. And this one's more of a smaller fitted top, and then I got an oversized top that I'll use more as pyjamas, which says Firenze on it. And this one is a white with navy writing, and it's got a picture of the Ponte Vecchio. And I think they're really cute. And yeah, like I said, this one's a lot larger, it's oversized, so I'll probably use this as pyjamas, but I think they're really cute souvenirs. The quality is really good, and yeah, I love them so much. I also had pizza for lunch. I went to a nice pizzeria that was just on the way down the hill because I was really hungry after that walk, and a nice cold drink and delicious pizza really hit the spot. So yeah, that's been what I've been up to today, and it's been a great day in Florence. I've really loved walking around, and I've been lucky with the weather because, I mean, I assumed summer in Italy it would be hot, but checking the weather forecast, it said it was going to rain and be stormy. So I didn't have any umbrellas or warm clothes with me. I wore this dress because it's longer sleeved, and I thought if it was colder then it might be better. But actually I've been very lucky with the weather. It's been sunny all day. I think in the afternoon about 6 o'clock it rained for like, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute or something, and then it stopped, and that was it. So if that's the storm, then that's fine. I'm happy with that. I don't mind if that's all we get. But yes, it's been a wonderful trip so far, and I can't wait for tomorrow. So it's the next day, and I've come to the Palazzo Vecchio. I'm about to walk around. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's go. Palazzo Vecchio, overlooking the Piazza della Signoria, is the city's town hall and is a symbol of the city's civic power. The Signoria were the head of the Republic of Florence, and they used the palace to host council meetings. The Signoria was made up of 9 members called the Priori, who each represented a rank of the city guilds, which were the associations of artisans and merchants. They were chosen at random with the intention of creating a fair government in favour of the people. One room that stood out to me was the Hall of Geographical Maps, which was designed with the purpose of illustrating Earth as it was known in the 16th century. Each wall panel contains part of the map mural designated to a specific country or region, and it was fascinating to see how our knowledge of the world has changed since that time. Next, I visited the Palazzo Pitti, a Renaissance palace which was bought by the Medici family in 1549. At first, it was mainly used to lodge official guests and for court functions, since their main residence was in the centre of the city, but later the family moved here on a permanent basis and used it to store their art collections. Unfortunately, filming was not allowed inside the palace itself, so you will just have to take my word that it was magnificent and is a must-see museum on a visit to Florence. Behind the Palazzo Pitti are the Boboli Gardens. The Medici bought land on the Boboli Hill to produce a formal park and gardens. The design has an amphitheatre at its centre, and plays were actually performed in this outdoor theatre for the Medici court, with mainly classically inspired plays written by Florentine playwrights. The gardens are one of the first and most important examples of Italian gardens, and several other European courts have drawn inspiration from its design. No trip to Florence is complete without a visit to the Duomo, perhaps the most iconic image of the city. More formally known as the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore, work on this cathedral began in 1296, but obstacles such as a lack of funding, the passing of the main architect, and even the Black Death meant that construction was not completed until 1436. The most iconic part is the dome, a commission won in competition by Filippo Brunelleschi. The dome is the largest masonry vault in the world, measuring 45.5 metres in diameter and 116 metres tall. Afterwards, it was time for a gelato break at Don Nino, a high-quality gelateria nestled in the shadows of the Duomo, where I took the time to just stop and simply admire its beauty. Then I made my way to the Galleria dell'Accademia, a small art gallery adjoined to the Academy of Fine Arts, famous for housing the original marble sculpture of David by Michelangelo. It is a masterpiece of Renaissance sculpture and used to hold pride of place in the Piazza della Signoria, symbolising the defence of civil liberties and the values of the Republic of Florence. The museum is smaller than the Uffizi and specialises in paintings by Florentine artists from 1300 to 1600, so mainly religious paintings, as well as holding some other sculptures by Michelangelo. I've just made it to the Santa Maria Novella church. I'm about to go in and have a look around. I'm really looking forward to it. The Santa Maria Novella Church is one of the most important Gothic churches in Florence, and I must admit that I enjoyed visiting it much more than the Duomo. It was nowhere near as busy, there were no queues, and in my opinion it is more beautiful. The facade was designed by Jacopo Talenti and Leon Battista Alberti, and the interior is a real jewel box filled with extraordinary frescoes and paintings. I particularly enjoyed the opportunity to explore the cloisters which adjoin the church and which really transport you back in time and feel like a haven of peace hidden away from the city. So I've just come out of the perfume shop that's right behind the church, and oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's old and the interiors are just stunning, and they have all of the bottles with like dried petals and all the different ingredients, and I just wanted everything, but I ended up getting a perfume called Angeli di Firenze, which means Angels of Florence, and it smells amazing, so I'm excited to use it for the rest of the holiday, and I'll show you what the bottle looks like later, but I'm just really happy. The Dominican friars of the convent of Santa Maria Novella are probably most well known for the creation of the Officina Profumo di Santa Maria Novella, which they founded all the way back in 1221 and which still exists today. They cultivated herbs and medicinal plants in the gardens, selling natural remedies in their pharmacy. Eventually, the brand expanded to include cosmetics, fragrances, and other wellness products. Their first perfume, which was originally a simple distilled rosewater, was actually originally intended to ward off the Black Death and was used to sanitize rooms and for personal care, taken with wine or in pills. Later, in 1533, Catherine de' Medici herself became a customer of the brand. When she left Italy to marry the future King of France, she requested for a perfumer to leave with her as part of her entourage. Renato Bianco went with her and spread the art and knowledge from Florence. A signature scent was also created for Catherine called Acqua della Regina, or the Queen's Water, which is the brand's oldest fragrance and which is still sold today. One of the most popular dishes of Tuscan cuisine that I would highly recommend trying on a trip to Florence if you like meat is the bistecca alla fiorentina, or Florentine steak. Usually I'm not the biggest fan of steak, however this steak was one of the best things I've ever eaten, truly. It is best eaten with a group since it is tastier to cook a large piece of meat and share it amongst the table. We ordered it with roast potatoes and salad and of course some wine, and oh my goodness, it was a life-changing experience. For dessert I had cantucci, traditional Tuscan crunchy almond biscuits, with vinsanto, a strong and sweet wine a bit like a liqueur. The biscuits are dipped into the wine, which may seem odd but was actually really delicious. In the evenings, after dinner, my favourite thing to do was just to stroll around Florence and take in the evening ambience. I particularly liked stopping at Caffè Gilli in the evenings because they had a great selection of cocktails, and the elegant cafe, founded in 1733, was the perfect spot to sit in classic Florentine glamour. Before leaving, I made a quick stop at the Church of Santa Margherita dei Cerchi, also known as Dante's Church. It is one of the oldest churches in Florence and is said to be where Dante first laid eyes on his great love Beatrice Portinari. Tradition holds that visitors can write to Beatrice, asking her to protect their love and happiness. Hey, you never know, this might just be what I needed to bring me some luck in my love life. So it is my last day here in Florence. I'm going to leave this morning and check out of the hotel, but before I leave I wanted to show you what I got yesterday at the Santa Maria Novella perfume shop, because it was really amazing to walk around. I think that it's such an old place. It's been open since the 13th century and they use natural ingredients, and there were people, really knowledgeable people, telling us about the different, because they don't just have perfumes but also body products and creams for different things, like for bruising or wrinkles, spots, whatever. So they're really knowledgeable pharmacists really who work there, and it was incredible to listen to them. But I just got this perfume and they packed it in this really beautiful box like this. It's really pretty. It's got a picture of the church on it, and inside I got the perfume that's called Angeli di Firenze, which means Angels of Florence, and it looks like this. And I thought it was quite a fitting name because when I use it I'll always remember my trip here, so it's really lovely. And it kind of reminded me, I don't know if you've watched the video from Paris that I did when I went to the Universal Bulli shop, but the packaging is quite similar there as well. They have really traditional shaped bottles and it's really lovely. So yeah, that's the perfumes I got. And today I'm going to be going to Cinque Terre, so I hope you enjoyed this vlog from Florence. If you did, then please like it and subscribe to my channel to join me on more adventures, and watch my next video to see what I get up to in Cinque Terre. Bye!